letting go of the past. Do you ever sit back and think about things that may have happened to you in the past and you just can't let go, and you know you need to heal so you can move on and live a better quality of life? Let's talk about it. Ladies, I want to have a nice, good conversation. I've definitely had my trauma in my life. I've definitely healed from my trauma. Some days they do come up, some days they don't come up, but I know how to self-soothe myself when those moments definitely arise. I want us to focus on letting go of the past, get some emotional healing going on, and moving forward. I know everyone doesn't deal with trauma. You know, to me, trauma is trauma. It can be the smallest thing to the biggest thing. But trauma is trauma. It could be mentally, it could be physically, emotionally. Trauma is trauma. And I'll get into my trauma a little bit later. But it can definitely be hard with moving forward and healing, if that makes any sense. I want to be very gentle with this conversation because I don't want to trigger myself. You know, even though I'm healed, I'm healing. Sometimes having these kind of conversations can definitely trigger you. For those of you who are watching the podcast via YouTube, I do have on my glasses. In the event, you know, I get a little foggy. You know, I gotta have something to cover up. In the event I get a little misty eye. But I feel like some of these conversations, they need to really be had. And I wish I had these conversations when I was younger, because now here I am, 48, and I am not fully healed, but I'm in a healing process. I'm in a good state, okay? So why is it important to address emotional healing, particularly in midlife, for us women over 40? For me, it carries on. It carries on, and you don't even realize where it shows up. It shows up in the most randomest things, and you're like, I thought I was over this, and no, But I want us to understand the weight of our past. You know, depending on where it is and how it is, your past can definitely reflect your future if you don't correct it. And that's in anything. You know, I sit back and look at relationships that may have made mistakes in. And when you don't correct those mistakes, they will keep showing up. And you're like, well, why is this happening to me? You're making the same mistakes. Everybody enough level is different. Somebody may have something done to them twice and they're done. Or sometimes once and they're done. Sometimes it takes something to happen multiple times for you to say enough. Prime example, in your trauma, you know, you start seeing things pop up. You know, that you didn't heal from. You know, we can't erase it. Whatever that trauma is, it happened, right? So now you got to figure out ways to fix it. Now, if you keep seeing things pop up in your life and how it hinders you or how it sets you back, you got to figure out a way to heal it. So I hope I kind of tied that in, because I wanted to kind of just talk about, you know, how can your traumas can affect you in your midlife, you know, just little things, you know. So some of ways that your past experience can hinder your life, where it can show up. It can show up in your relationship, in your career, your personal life. It can just weigh heavy on just your well-being. Just you breathing, your traumas can, you know, just linger on. And I will definitely say, since I've gotten my therapy, sometimes I feel like, I feel like I can be numb sometimes. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because you feel like if you go to therapy, you get through all your things, you get through everything, you're talking about it, you're dumping it, you're finding ways to cope, ways to deal, and ways to self-soothe, but yet now you're like in a different phase, and it's like, they didn't say anything about this. They didn't say anything about this. But to talk about the toll of it on your mental health, sometimes holding on to certain things, how I mentioned how I said, relationships, your mental health. I've seen so many people, growing up, whom something may have happened to them, whatever this may be, healing from a trauma or something. And they never got anything addressed, never talked to no one, never had no one to talk to, never had the outlet, just never had the knowledge or education or just the right support system around them. And I've seen them just spaz out. And you can tell that they were trying to do the best they could, but just spazzed out. I'm very fortunate enough that I hung on as long as I could, because I really do think the pandemic was my breaking point. I had several mini breakdowns, and I just couldn't take it no more. I couldn't take it no more. And that's pretty much when I shut down, not just, with, I don't know, how can I say this? I shut down everybody. Nobody knew nothing about me. Only thing you knew, Kelly worked, Kelly got kids, she got doing Kelly's on the internet, stuff like that. But when it came to anything else, because I had shared with someone what I was going through. And it got thrown back in my face. And I said, never again. Never again. So just be mindful of how it can affect your mental health. And to get the help that you need. And don't, sometimes relying on close friends and family may not be it. You have to seek the professionals, because you got to remember, I was always told too, oh, it ain't that bad. People are going through worse. And sometimes that it's not that bad can turn into something real bad later on, for a lack of attention, for a lack of addressing it, a lack of nurturing it and getting it, whatever that issue is within, handled, because it can definitely play on you. I've seen a lot of people who went through trauma, and before you know it, they're in the psych ward. Let's call a spade. I've seen it. So let's get into some common challenges, of typical experience that women over 40 may face, in relation to their past. It could, we could think about career setbacks, health challenges. It could be a divorce. It can be childhood trauma, and that can be a host of different things. It could be abuse, whatever. The list goes on, and you guys know what the list can possibly even consist of. So steps to emotional healing. What are some steps to heal that inside? Be good to yourself. Accept the past. Accept the past. Accept the past for what it's worth. And I know it's easier said than done, because baby, one minute I accept, and one minute I be like, I wish you would. I wish you would. Recognizing that the past is the past and cannot be changed. But the response to it can be. And I know all of this is easier said than done, because baby, when I heard these things, it was like, put yourself in my shoes. And it's like, I've been there. I've been there. Practice self-compassion, acknowledge that mistakes or hardships are a part of life. I'm not saying abuse, child abuse, domestic violence, that is not acceptable at all. At all. But sometimes when you think about trauma that can happen on people, death, that's different. You know what I mean? Especially if it's a young child, it hits different. It hits different. And I think about people who are adults who may have lost their parents when they were young, and how they move on with their children as they get older, as they have children, I should say. And you can see it show up, you can definitely see it show up. And it plays a part, and I've definitely witnessed that myself. So I've definitely have self-life experience with that. And I mentioned this before, forgiving yourself and others, understanding forgiveness as a tool for personal peace, not condoning past wrongs. Now, remember I said earlier was forgiving them for you so you can move on. And that's something that I had to do, to individuals in my life. I had to actually say, you know what, Kelly, forgive them and tell them. Tell them. And you don't know how heartbreaking that was to actually sit and tell someone that hurt you that you forgive them. And I know what you did was wrong, but I truly, truly forgive you. And it's okay to say, I'm forgiving you for myself if you feel it's necessary. And if not, just say, I forgive you. And you can cut it off because I know for me, I had to say, I forgive you. I didn't go into the part of saying I forgive you for myself because then it looks like, but I forgive you, but you are no longer allowed in my life. And I think that hit way better. And I'm not trying to do a sting for a sting, but when you tell a person that hurt you, I'm doing this for myself, they don't get it. They're the one who did the damage. They don't care. But when you do it for yourself and you just say you're not allowed in my life anymore, then just let it be. That lets them know you have moved on for it. You have moved on from it. You've moved on. And also focus on letting go of resentment to feel free of emotional energy. That took a while for me. I'm going to be honest. I still play tug of war with that because I still see these people, and sometimes it's hard. It's like, that's even like, say in a relationship, somebody did you wrong or a relationship didn't work out or even, something happened to you, right? And you see them move on with life like nothing never happened. And you sitting here sliding down the wall, wanting to know why me, why me. Same analogy. Just let go of the resentment. Easy. I know I'm always going to say easier said than done. But we got to put our best foot forward so we can get through this healing process and let the past be the past. Remember that movie called Inside Out? I want to go see Inside Out 2. It's still a movie theater over not too far from me because I really, really enjoyed that movie. Some people didn't like it, but even though you're inside of a young girl's, brain, if you will, we were once her age and we all had those same thoughts, happy, sad, depressed, anxiety. And as she got older, more things happen. So this is Inside Out. This is what this is. Shifting your mindset, changing negative thoughts tied to past. That's a lot. That is a lot. Say if I'm around people and start talking about something that happened and I know I've experienced it, sometimes I can find myself like being on that train, like having them negative thoughts because I know what it feels like. And when you in a bad space, it's nothing like being with a person who has felt what you felt and you guys are coming together like having one of them crazy talk parties, for lack of better words. Just try to turn past struggles into life lessons that contribute to growth. And I'm doing that by maintaining my therapy. Because it's hard. It's hard. We can have all these different outlines lined up for us, trying to be the best that we possibly can. But then on the flip side, the reality sets in. But practicing mindfulness and self-care can be really, really good. I remember when the thing the things first started happening to me, I used to write about it. Because again, I'm a stationary girly. So I used to love diaries with locks on it, journal books with the little strap, the elastic strap. And when I was young, I used to write about it. And then I would tear it up. Because I don't have any of my diaries when I was a young girl. Any of them. Because I felt like I didn't want nobody to know what I wrote. I didn't want nobody to know how I really felt. Because nobody cared when I spoke. So, what was the purpose of me having these books? Somebody, then you find them and they'll know. I just ripped them up. But, nevertheless, what are some self-care tips that you can do to encourage mindfulness? Some good techniques. You know, what I learned in therapy was deep breathing and journaling. In my therapy session, we always breathe. We breathe at the end. We always do a good breathing session. And it feels good. Journaling, I do want to get back into. My last session that I had last month was so amazing. And I mentioned it in one of my videos on my main channel. And I just, the session was so good. I cried, for one. And I also remembered that, you know, I told him I stopped journaling. And I told him that now what I'm doing, I'm just writing bullet points down. Because my brain goes so fast. Now, I'm not talking to him about the same thing over and over again. New things pop up. You know, life be lifing out here. So, you know, but in regards to like my trauma, you know, and I spoke to him about how I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm healing. I know I'm not completely healed. And he said, that's okay. He said, but the fact that you can acknowledge and you see when things are happening, you need to just somehow jot it down. And I do that. I jot it down. And my brain be going. But I just do bullet points. Back to that. I just do bullet points to get the points out. So when it's time for me to have my session, I could just ramble on. But ladies, if you are like to write and your brain don't move faster than you write or faster than you type, go ahead and journal. Sometimes getting it out. Like I said, I had a diary. I used to write everything down. And if you don't want it lingering around, I mean, I'm not going to say what I did was the best thing. Because I don't know. Sometimes I wish I would have had my journal just to kind of see how far I have come. Because sometimes we don't give ourselves that grace. You know, we have people on the sidelines reminding us where we are and what we doing and trying to point out all the negative. They'll never point out the good, you know. So you have to always sit back and have something that can remind you of how far you have come. You know, stay present. And also, you know, some good practices that can keep your mind occupied, that can help you stay present, is exercising, therapy, which, you know, I'm a #1 fan. Therapy is like my jam. You guys know I'm going to always talk about therapy. And having a hobby. I want to say, once I had got into therapy, I put my YouTube and my blogging down. I was so consumed in trying to read these books that my therapist had assigned to me. Every page, every sentence I read, it made me pour tears. But once I got to a certain point, I was able to pick back up my camera and I was able to create more videos. And I started making videos about mindfulness. And that helped me through my journey. If you're not following my main channel, follow me. Go back, watch those videos. Oh, was it a time? It was a time, girl. It was a time. So last but not least, moving forward and embracing the future. How to use visuals to picture life beyond pain of the past. You know, setting achievable goals to focus on your personal growth and new beginnings. And a new beginning for me was pretty much when I started this podcast. It wasn't first a podcast. That's when therapy was doing good for me. I mean, when I got to the point where I actually created the channel, the YouTube channel for We Age Graceful. And I was just sitting up there just having conversation. Didn't know where it was going. I know one of my videos was talking about setting boundaries. And again, that was about my trauma, you know, and I look back and see where I am now to where I was. Growth, growth. And I won't let anybody tell me anything different. You know, I will not. I'm going to put it like that. And surround yourself around positivity. That can be people. And I'm not saying look for yes people. Because that's a difference between looking for like yes people to just like validate you. No. Positive people who understand literally you, who want to understand you, who don't want to paint a different picture of you because you're not showing up for them the way they want you to. You know, just cultivate and have intentional good relationships and environments. You know, that comes with friends, that comes with dating, even in marriages, jobs. Make sure that you are in good situations and environments. So in saying all of that, I want to just do a little roundup because I just want to say thank you. Thank you for just always being here and for us, you know, bonding the way that we do, because this is a lot. This is a lot. I thought this episode a little bit heavy for me. I found myself looking up a lot because I can just feel like, you know how you know what went on in your life. You've come a long way. But sometimes it still just stings a little bit. And that's okay, because my therapist had told me it's okay to feel it. It's okay. You know, you don't have to be like when you get to a certain point, like yeah, this happened to me and I'm good and I can talk about it now. I can talk about it now. But it's still a pain. It's not as strong as it was, but it's still a pain. And I think it's more so a pain when you still see the people. That's what makes it like knife in turn, shake to the side. So to recap, our key points is to just pretty much accept the past, forgive and release emotional burdens, focus on personal growth and self-care, and look forward with optimism. Look forward to it, because we can get so caught up with our past. And when things don't work out good for us, we will blame our past. If this wouldn't have happened to me, I wouldn't be this way. Yeah, in some degree. Yes, in some degree. But we have to be so strong and we have to just push forward. And again, I know it's easier said than done, but we just have to. I just got finished watching a video from a gentleman on YouTube, and he was talking about no one is going to save you. You have to save yourself. Even in the toughest times of your life, you have to save yourself. And I look at this, it's like one of those moments where you just have to like save yourself. You know, learning how to forgive and practicing mindfulness and just being present. You know, it's a process and it's healing. But I wanted to have that conversation with you. In addition, I don't want you to miss any episode. So if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you. If you are listening on any of the streaming platforms, go ahead and follow so you won't miss an episode. And if you have any social, we Age Graceful Podcast. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, wherever you are. No TikTok, because too much. But I want to say thank you. I truly appreciate you. And yes, I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye, y'all.